All right, everyone. Welcome, welcome. We're going to take a few seconds just to share. See, we are live on Facebook. Let's see. I'm going to open up the privacy and I'm going to be sharing it to Caribbean American Diaspora. For those that's going to be joining us there. All right, we're on Caribbean American Diaspora, and now we're going to go to Caribbean Diaspora Vibes. And we're going to also go to Caribbean Rhythms Radio Network and Women of Culture. All right, good. So we are live and this is being recorded. So welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us. Welcome back to another amazing show of Caribbean Diaspora Vibes. My name is Donna Morton. I am the president of Caribbean American Diaspora Alliance. Also the president of Women of Culture Incorporated, where we support women, children, and families affected by homelessness, incarceration, and trauma. I am a real estate broker, Florida real estate broker, life insurance, mindset coach. You're all around entrepreneur, loving life, loving family, loving God. So that's who I am. So my co-hosts are not here with us tonight. Dr. Arlene is not here, and Louis Witter of Caribbean Rhythms Radio Network is not here. But who is supposed to be here is here. We're going to have an amazing show tonight. We're going to talk about mental health and wellness. Um, the climate, I believe, all around the world is heightened. The climate, the mental health, because it's something about what happens in the States, what happened in America, trickles into everywhere else. So everyone's always watching and listening, and we have been under a whirlwind of, I call it disruption. And disruptions sometimes you always have to we always have to look at the lessons in every disruption, every trials, every tribulations, pain. There's always lessons. There's always something that we can learn from it. And sometimes that's when we grow. A seed doesn't grow with just, the seed has to be buried and then it's down below and it's kicking out roots and doing all this stuff. If we probably had a video of a seed, you'd be like, oh my God, that seed is covered. But the seed takes root and just blossoms and just become this amazing flower or tree or, um, plant. And that's how we are as human beings. So yes, there's a lot of disruption, chaos, confusion, all of that is going on. We're not going to deny that. But one thing we don't have to do is feed the energy. We don't have to respond with confusion and chaos. We respond back in love. We respond back with gratitude, with spending time with nature, with prayers, with just giving thanks because we know that this too shall pass, right? Because we have to be careful that we don't take on and download all of the chaos and the confusion and distractions, and then it settles in our hearts or in our mind, and then we get sick. then we get what we call a dis-ease because now we've downloaded all of that. So we do, even though we're watching and we're paying attention and we're aware, we have to guard our gates, or ear gates or eye gates, hearts, everywhere, right? So tonight's an amazing topic about mental health, um, and wellness. It all goes hand in hand, right? Without health, what do we have? All the money in the world. If you don't have, the proper health, it means absolutely nothing. So we're going to talk about some tips. We're going to talk about maybe what caused the distress, what's causing the distress in different regions, and and then some tips on what we can do to kind of bring you back into balance. That's all, just bringing us back into balance. Um, so I'm going to have you ladies give a quick intro of yourself, who you are, and where you're from, and then we'll jump right into what do you guys think is causing mental health in your particular region? Let's start with you, Arlene.
Hi, so great evening, everyone. Thank you so much, Donna, and really powerful introduction there on a very, controversial topic, right? And my name, as it's on the screen there, it's Arlene by no Melad, and I like to tell my patients, "Oh, Melad." When we have mental issues, we say, "Oh God, oh Melad." So you certainly will remember the name. Right, I am a nurse by profession. I've been a nurse for the past 20 plus years, and I've been in healthcare and I've seen the best, I've seen the worst of everything possible when it comes to from life, from birth to death, right? And the oxymoron to that is, though, that I have a background in cooperatives, yes, credit unions. And I've been influential in the credit union movement for over 25 years, almost, I would say almost half of my natural life. I've been involved from a volunteer all the way up to the board of directors and serving. So I've basically built my life around serving others and being there for people who are looking to have a better life. Yes, I've known what it is to be in the private sector, having and owning and operating a transport service, providing the means for persons to get their children to school safely, right? So I've enjoyed that aspect, and my life has been quite simple. I say, however, it's been intertwined a lot with persons, as I am also an entrepreneur and I'm part of an international mentorship program that gives persons the opportunity to start their own businesses and to, aim for the moon, because if you miss, you just might hit the stars, as we say. Yeah, so that's just a little introduction there on who I am, and I look forward to the conversation as well. And I am from Trinidad and Tobago. Yes, and we just came out of a hot season of elections, with a whole new government, and we look forward to seeing how that works out for the next 5 years. So back to you, Donna.
Thank you so much. Trinidad, I think could we all pick up the accent? Yes. Well, while we're in Trinidad, let's go over and we'll hear from Simone Claxton.
Hi, good evening, everyone. I am also from the beautiful Twin Island Republic of Trinidad and Tobago, like Arlene. And Arlene is my mentor, a very powerful woman, inspirational. And I too am a serial entrepreneur, I would consider myself. I love entrepreneurship. I'm passionate about it and also empowering others. I function in many capacities, one of them being a tourism consultant, a business coach and trainer, and also president and founder of a nonprofit organization to empower young women. And we have young women, young girls involved from all aspects of the Caribbean and other parts of the world as well. I just love seeing people strive. I love seeing people in good health because I know what it's like to have poor health. So as a result of my personal experience, I am now in the area venturing into health coaching to be able to support persons who are going through, their challenges. Because I know what it's like to be going through your challenges of poor health and seeking information, not knowing what's actually going on with you, not being able to understand, and you are not quest to find out and find a solution to it. So I really want to be able to share the knowledge that I've acquired throughout my past couple of years in going through my own challenges.
Yes.
So that's me in a nutshell. I really thank Donna for this platform for us to be able to share our tips and experiences as women, especially with regards to mental health. It has become very dear to me. When it's just something that you haven't gone through, you're like, okay, yes, mental health. But when you've actually gone through it, you have a personal connection. You can empathize and you know what it's like, and you don't want anybody else to go through that type of, pain and experience.
Right.
So that's me in a nutshell. Thank you, guys.
Amazing, amazing. So then we're gonna jump over to, the mix up of
Mhm.
countries. We got VI repping, we've got Antigua and Barbuda, and of course, USA in the mix. Miss Marjorie, welcome.
Skill set for me.
There you go.
There we go. Hey,
Hey.
thank you very much for having me. Here it is. You're running and you're running and you're running away. Yeah. Bob has these amazing lyrics to his song. He said, who feels it knows it, Lord. Who feels it knows it. Innit? We have been down this road, each and every one of us individually. We know people who've been there. We know people who are currently there. We're still currently there in one way or another. Um, and there's this catharsis that comes with being able to talk about it, to
Mhm.
share, to offer insights, to seek insights. Because even as we give, we're given, right? And we are given so that we can heal, so we can learn, so we can know, so we can suss. When we suss out this and we suss out that. For any of the listeners who don't know what suss means, it means to figure it out.
Mhm.
We're trying to figure out where the disease comes from. What's its source? What's its origin? Is it historic? Is it recent past? Did it come through the DNA, through the ancestors and the worries and the wear and tear that they went through? What are we
Mhm.
dealing with right now when we talk about mental health and wellness, which are two different concepts, but intimately related? Yeah. And
Mhm.
so for me, I'm from Antigua. Well, I'm from the U.S. Virgin Islands, born and raised. Excuse me, somebody attempting to call me, and I will ask them to please text me. I was born in the U.S. Virgin Islands. My parents are from Antigua and Barbuda, and I grew up both places. Um, my if you will, my base is in Antigua and Barbuda, but I spent quite a bit of time in California, Jamaica, soon enough, Trinidad and Tobago. So you guys hold on. Arlene and Simone, I'm coming,
Nice.
coming, hey, I'm coming.
Looking
Them like,
forward.
Lord have mercy, she can't go where she lives.
Nice, nice.
But look, I'm coming. And so for me, mental health goes deep and it goes far in my family. The Beazers, my ancestors were used as breeding stock when they outlawed slavery in Antigua and Barbuda. So with that interbreeding comes a lot of mental health issues,
Mm-hmm.
that are genetically bound. So
Mm-hmm.
even in terms of my genetic background, my own personal historical experience, we see issues around mental health in a very complex and unique way. My background is in mental health and wellness, also education, in public policy, and just community, individual, and national development and change. I do all kinds of stuff, ladies, and all of it is designed to serve. I just recently got installed as a president of a 105-year-old club here in Sacramento, and I'm going to be doing it virtually. It's called Business and Professional Women. And one of the areas that I've asked my team to drill down on is, guess what? Mental health and wellness. Because I show up at the job. I don't show up as an entrepreneur when I'm in my depressive state. I'm feeling anxiety. I may have been through some stuff that has left PTSD as a constant companion. And so for me, it's about service, about how do we break free of the shackles that hold us and bind us, especially those beginning here, because as a man thinketh, so is he or she. And so that honestly, I was so excited when Simone invited me to be part of this panel. So that's it in a nutshell, really quickly. And hey, I'm excited. Let's do this. Let's do this.
We have such an amazing group where we can talk in our chat, in our WhatsApp chat, and just different things. I usually will kick off the morning with some kind of mindset, something, and then different people will just chime in and bring such knowledge and just love. And it's always a group that I always kind of look forward to, that people respond and ask questions or just give input. And sometimes we don't have that in some chats. We're just, you're just there. And I think every life matters in the chat, and everybody's going through their own different things. And people are not afraid to ask, like, what should I do about this? And what should I do about that? And I love it. And I think we're here. Sometimes we find ourselves in spaces, and there's a reason for us to be together in those spaces to empower each other, because as we go out into the world and have all these duties and responsibilities, sometimes we're always pouring out, and sometimes we need people that can, pour back into us.
That's right.
So you're not gonna find that in every single group, that the level where people can pour back into you. And I really love this group for that. So we were just literally just chit-chatting and talking about the stress and the high stress. I'm here in Florida. And again, like we started out, we just been seeing on such a different level, a scale of, I mean, it's kind of calmed down now, but beginning of the year for the last couple of months, it's just been like whirlwind, bam, bam, bam. What's this? Well, something new, something's cut. Erasing Black history, erasing the history of women and Blackness seems to be the theme right now in America. And we just have been, we watch it. We watch it. Um, I can actually say that a lot of Black people are kind of just they're finding ways. They're dancing, they're finding ways to deal and pass through this time, because like we said, this too will pass. And but we're still paying attention. But like I wrote today, I think everything happens for a reason. I think that the disruption, sometimes we do get comfortable and we get lax. And so sometimes the disruption is to say, hey, this was never solved. What we're experiencing right now, it was just covered up. The racism was just covered up. All these things have just been covered up. And people have been, I know they try to cover we call it woke, which is just getting out of the matrix. And I think this administration really, now majority of people are like really stepping out of the matrix and looking and asking questions on so many levels, when it comes to government, when it comes to religion, when it comes to health. People are no longer just going with status quo and saying, do this, do that. People are researching, is this right for me? Is this treatment right for me? Is this mammogram right for me? Is this vaccine right for me? People are no longer being sheep, and it's causing a disruption. And so we have to just remind ourselves that God can use the very enemies to bless us. So let's not like lose sight and just say, oh my God, there's so much. And yeah, we're surrounded. We may be surrounded by enemies, but if you have that faith, you sit back and watch because the very enemies that send to slay you, you will step on the head of that enemy to get to your next level. So we just have to look at things differently and not just freak out and get stressed out. But I know we had some triggers, stress, government, um, poor health. You each person give me like what do you think is contributing to the high stress right now?
Well,
So
Donna, first of all,
go ahead. You go ahead, Simone.
right, I just want to thank Donna for her contribution to the Dream Big Woman of Wisdom group. It's priceless. Donna, you don't know the impact you're having on persons because there's some persons, they message me and they say, Donna, she, sends messages every day and it really inspires me. And I'm so happy, to, be part of the group because they're going through certain things. And when they read the messages, they get that inspiration, so you really are impacting the lives of persons. And even myself, sometimes the way you put across how to deal with certain things. And then like if I have a situation and then I say, no, don't deal with it that way. Then when I remember, how you approach things, I said, okay, take it down, deal with it this particular way. So you really are having an impact in the lives of many, many women. So I just wanted to let you know that.
Thank
So let me
you.
let Arlene go ahead and then you're welcome.
Thank you.
I,
Thank you.
I would definitely ditto that, and I know sometimes even with my schedule, I have to really step back sometimes to guard my own mental health as well. Because, as you said something very fundamental there, Donna, with regards to, sometimes you pouring into persons and you need that positive capsule that pours back into you and fills you back up so that you can give off the overflow of your cup. Because a lot of times we are giving off that very cup, and that cup does and will get empty. And that's what it refers to when we speak about mental health and wellness, referring to that emotional, psychological, and social well-being of that individual. Yeah. And, when you think about it, it compasses what exactly? How we think, how we feel, how we behave. Yes, how we handle stress, as you said just now. How do we relate to others and more so the choices that we make. Sometimes we make choices and sometimes you have to really wonder, as women, are we thinking before we make those choices? Or are we only making those choices based on our emotions at the point in time? Yeah. And I share that because I came onto this platform with a heart of pain today as we celebrated Mother's Day just Sunday. And, that was such a beautiful day, only that to be told yesterday, which was Monday, the day after Mother's Day, that I lost a very close friend. Yeah, I lost a relative. I lost someone that I loved, and held dearly to me. And she has been suffering for how many years now in silence? Yeah. And not reaching out to say what is happening
Yes.
with her. How can she be helped and supported, And she was butchered in her home, in her sleep, 6 something in the morning on Mother's Day. And all the warning signs were given before, with this perpetrator verbalizing what his intent was, and it goes to show you that with mental health, sometimes we as a community of people may be getting information that could save somebody's life, and because treated with the urgency or the importance or maybe even see it as authentic. We do nothing and we say nothing, you know? And it was really so heartbreaking to be able to have to get that kind of news that this 50 plus year old woman, is no longer with us and she's in her prime of her life. And
Yes.
why? Because sometimes it's difficult for the other sex to handle that rejection as
Mhm.
they see it. When you
Right.
say no, no means no.
Right. Right. That's sad. And
That is sad.
yeah, if you don't have a support system, um, to just talk to even get some encouragement, because we never know what's going on in the home, but at least
Mhm,
to pray for that individual, to shift the energy of what's going on in the, as part of, again, we talk about this disruption. I think this is also bringing us back to our spiritual self, our African ancestry. There's nothing like agreeing, two or three agreeing and sending prayers and sending that positive energy to others. We don't have to be in the same house.
mhm,
So if someone is going through something, and because sometimes even with domestic violence, for example, we can't intervene. You can't just confront that person too, because then you put yourself at risk and the other
mhm,
person. You don't know the mindset. But let me tell you that we can get to, especially women. I always say, and you've been in my writings, I talk about us being portals. We are wombs. We bring life from the unseen to the seen realm. There is power when we pray, and it's different. The males, they serve their they have their purpose. They're the
mhm,
physical strength, we are the spiritual strength. And so we have to tap back into that awareness and know that we can pray over our loved ones, our family and friends, etc., and send that good energy and even over to the person that they're dealing with, because we don't know what mental health that person is struggling with.
mhm,
What could have triggered that person from with the stress, and then he just went, too far.
mhm,
So all of that, talk to someone, but then again, it's the right group, also the right people, because not everybody understands this level. But
mhm,
we can pray for each other, despite you being in a different country, in a different state, city, area, and send energy of love and healing to people. And I think the disruption is definitely kind of, I'm seeing more and more podcasts talk about that. I know Marjorie, we talked about, we got to get back on doing a podcast to talk about those types of things of energy and how we can use it to bless lives, because people are dealing with stress. And I know a lot of times people are also dealing with stress in the church. And
mhm,
especially in the church, some may not feel like, well, I'm in the church, so I shouldn't, I'm going to hide. I'm going to hide what I'm feeling. I'm going to hide, that I'm feeling down or I'm feeling unbalanced. And so it gets worse and it gets worse. And people need to understand that, yeah, things can trigger people losing their jobs, losing their health insurance for their family, losing their pension, retirement. All these things can set, any one of us can be set off by a trigger, by health, something that to our children, to our family.
mhm,
So there's so many things that can trigger mental health breakdown. And we need to be aware that we are humans, we're spiritual beings, but we are human beings. And we need to find the time to relax, to be still. We don't tap into these tips. I call it the spiritual tips for success. Be still, because a lot of times our mind is racing too much. We've got too much going on, thinking about everything, all the problems, all the bills, this and that. Um, and so being still is a wonderful way. I would say, we talk to God, but being still is where we hear from God.
That's right.
That's where we hear the tips. So a lot of times, most people are not still. They're just constantly, sometimes your prayer just needs to be shut up. Just be still. Be still. Be in a gratitude space and listen and listen. I walk like 3 miles a day in nature. And sometimes that's when I come back and I'm like downloading because I get all the tips and so forth. So we have to find ways. I know we all been through. Simone, you've got your challenge. Marjorie just had challenge. So, did you want to share, Marjorie? I know the ladies were sharing while you stepped away. Oh, so the Facebook page is Caribbean American Diaspora. He can join us on there. Thank you, Antonio. Oh, Marjorie, you're muted.
There we go.
Mhm.
Thank you for that. Yeah, I lost my son. I lost one of my boys. I have 7 children. Let's just kind of create the frame. I have 7 children. I have 6 sons. I have a daughter, and I have 4 grandbabies. My fifth child, just took his life in February. And so the ability to be present becomes conflated with your human experience. Even things around faith that can be cathartic, can be comforting, can be a source of relief or respite, can at times become ineffective. I heard the ladies to say, I heard you, Simone, and you, Arlene, as you guys were talking about the how the suddenness of the trauma, the thing that creates the psychic pain, can be a source in and of itself of just resetting your frame. And so when you asked Donna about what are some of the triggers, what are some of the things that we're dealing with that's creating the mental health kind of dynamic we're seeing, loss is one of them. And not just loss, but where it's tragic, it's unexpected, it's, we'll say, they died too soon. Well, that's a human response. I understand that because we don't know what God had planned for that life. If I'm elderly and I've been ailing, we expect it, we still feel it, but we expect it. Yeah, we planned for it. We've kind of come to peace with it as much as we can. So for me, when I think about how do we get where we get with regard to this mental health space, this psychosocial, psycho-emotional space we occupy, insecurity is a huge trigger in addition to loss. What does that mean? Food insecurity. The affordability of food has become a huge issue, not just, here in the US, but in the Caribbean. 80%, I don't know if you ladies know, CARICOM, the Caribbean community, has an initiative called 25 by 25. And what that is, the goal is by 2025, the Caribbean will have reduced its food bill by 25%. More than 80% of the foods that come into the Caribbean are imported. And the predominant source is the US. GMOs, and all kinds of stuff that they use in their foods. Even our consumption, what we consume, contributes to some of the mental health issues that we find. Well, not just mental, but physiological as well. There are genetic components, as I would have mentioned, my family history, that come into play as well. And when going back to the idea of insecurity, look at what this government here in the US is doing right now. I'm not even quite sure what to refer to him as, but this gentleman who has been given this senior leadership position and all the insecurity that he's created across the globe and
Right.
our little teeny tiny islands and stuff there in the Caribbean. You understand? The ripple
Mm-hmm.
effect is so intense. You talk about now, not only am I unsure if my job is still going to be in place, but I'm unsure of how much it's going to cost to live. Can I buy that bag of $6 bread? And do I need to go make some beverage to go with that? Do you understand? So
Mm-hmm.
those are some of the key and just kind of longitudinal and point in time issues that I feel are really having a significant impact on how we're showing up in the mental health space and especially in Black and Brown communities. My
Mm-hmm.
son, took his life one day. The next day, an 18-year-old took his life in the family driveway. In Antigua and Barbuda, another young man, he hung himself from the rafters in the home. And we can tell the stories, isn't it? We can tell the stories. Question becomes, can we and how can we pinpoint sources so we can go about creating effective, sustainable inoculations or treatments? People need tools. People
Yeah.
need to understand what they're dealing with. And we need to give people permission to not be okay and
Mm-hmm.
to speak up. The stigma is still an issue when it comes to seeking help. So I'm going to pause there. Thank
Yes.
you, ladies, for holding space for me. Those are my thoughts for now.
Thank you. Yeah, the triggers are so many: stress, government, poor health, little
Mm-hmm.
money,
Mm-hmm.
lack of resources and support,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
loss,
Mm-hmm.
PTSD, the insecurities. It's just so many triggers that we have to be mindful of, and then be mindful of sometimes when we don't hear from a certain person, we have to check in with them because, we've gotten so used to the online, oh, I saw her on Facebook, she's doing good. Sometimes we see people on Facebook one day and the next day you see somebody say condolences.
That's so true.
And the person, it wasn't an accident or anything like that. That person was ill and maybe even dying and understood what was going on, but they were just behind the camera. So we've kind of disconnected from that. We're more on the virtual. So we have to kind of get back with being our brothers and sisters keepers and checking in. And when we don't hear from people, just kind of give a call. Because even sometimes texting, you're not going to get the full, anything with just texting. Somebody can just say, oh, I'm good. And that's it. But if you call and you hear, but wait, you don't sound like yourself, then they
Mm-hmm.
may talk to you. So we have to kind of get back into that checking on people because the list is so long with all the
Mm-hmm.
different ways that we can just become unbalanced. Not to talk about the food that's making us unbalanced. So it's a setup on so many levels. And I
Mm-hmm.
know, like Simone and Arlene, you ladies, you talk a lot about you have your detox and your products and all of those things that you share. All of that makes a difference
Mm-hmm.
for mental health and wellness,
Yes.
you know.
Mm. So true.
Yeah. Tell us a little bit about that. What do you if you're able to share on that a little bit.
Sure. Well, as a nurse, working with persons of different conditions, particularly my pet peeve would have been cancer, right? As I worked in the oncology department for over 9 years and, seeing patients with their physical health being compromised while doing chemotherapy. And a lot of times, you recognize it's not so much the cancer that helps them to die, but more the lack of nutrition. Sometimes it's not being able to keep food down. Sometimes it's not being able to sleep. Sometimes it's not being able to fulfill goals that they had, because now their pay slip is actually switched now for a clinic card, right? And having to experience those things and those realities, and sometimes based on economic situations, they have small children, that things were not in place, and now you have this whole new battle to fight. And there's so many soundtracks running in the brain. And how do you get that person to face their immediate situation while they go through the physical, and that is where I found the Neutralite line, the excess energy, so many of the supplements under the program that was able, because of its plant-based nature, no formaldehydes and, no GMO, and all those different things. And I saw it as being a product that could actually support them, because I was a product of the product myself, having experienced two minor strokes in 9 years ago, right? Yeah. And 2021, in the height of the pandemic, I had a blackout and shattered my knee, my right knee, a meniscus injury in my bathroom. Walked on my feet to go to work for 2 weeks in pain, because I did not want to stay home. So you see the things that we do as women, making the sacrifice because you don't want to take time away to go and look after yourself. And here am I working in the institution and abiding with your pain until my knee locked on me and I could not get off the toilet seat in the bathroom on the job, and ended up on crutches for almost 2 years.
Wow.
And I'm sure there are women out there that go through very similar experiences, because they can't take a half day to go to the doctor to check the lump in their breast. Yeah, they may be having severe bleeding for weeks, months bleeding, and not going and checking it. Yeah, because of the fact that they cannot get a day off. Yeah, and they have so many things to do, and we continuously as women put everybody and everything first. The husband, the dog, the children, the home, the vehicle, everything goes first, and you are considering yourself last all the time. And that is where understanding your worth and your value, because if there's no you, trust me, I've learned the hard way, everything continues. It does not stop. I thought it stopped when I stopped. No. Lying on a hospital bed 17.5 days showed me that life continues. The AGM happened without me. The children continue to grow without me. They didn't die of starvation. The house continued to be cleaned. Everything. So women out there who's listening, take time. Your mental health is so important. Your wellness is so important. Taking time, as Donna says, to take it. You may not be able to do like her, to do a 3-mile walk, but can you do a half mile? Yeah. Can you just go and sit in the park with a book and read, or listen to some music? Yes. Can you just take some time for yourself on a Friday evening and sit and have a drink with yourself? It could be non-alcoholic. You understand? But just to socialize, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. God is not going to send you to hell for that, because there's so many misconceptions out there about spirituality, Donna and Marjorie and Simone. So many misconceptions about Christianity that really sets us in a bubble, right? And doing the things that keeps us grounded. if we don't pay attention to ourselves with all this negativity that is happening in the world today, we as women who are the bedrock, who are the backbone of our homes, if we don't stand strong, then everything continues. It does not stop. Yeah?
Yes.
So I'm going to pass it to anyone that wants to pick me up from there now.
And real quick, we forgot to talk about postpartum.
Oh, yes.
We mentioned relationships, yes, but postpartum,
Definitely.
people just ignore that one, like,
unforgiveness, resentment.
Yes.
Those are so much. You turn to substance abuse and all these different things, just trying to cope.
Right.
Yeah. Just trying to cope.
Coping.
And I know Simone wants to share some stuff there as well.
Yes. Yeah. I personally attest, one of the things that pulled me through with my situation was the Holy Basil and Zinc. I will always swear by that, because there was a time that, I was having a bit of a relapse, for want of a better word, and the mind was racing, and all the worries and stress, and you're not in control of it. And that used to just calm me down, to be able to cope and to face the challenges day by day. And then, it regulated my hormones and settled the body back, so I could really attest to the Holy Basil and Zinc. And the nutritional deficiencies, they are key in creating those depression, anxiety, gut reactions, etc. We really need to address our nutrition. It really is the food that we consume, because of that gut-brain connection. I've learned so much during my own experience. Whatever goes into the gut, there's a gut-brain connection. It affects the brain. So if we put junk in the gut, then, it results in that depression, anxiety, the mood. Sometimes I might be okay, and I eat something that I know I probably shouldn't eat. And the minute you eat that, you feel this whole feeling come over your body. Your whole mood shifts. I don't know if anybody has experienced that, but your mind just gets dull and your whole mood, it shifts. It's because that gut-brain connection, and it affects the way we think and how we feel, and then how we react and to the persons around us and how we interact. So nutrition has been really, really key, getting that under control for me. And just, the people that you have around you, surrounding yourself with positivity, with people who encourage and point to you, people who believe in you. All of that is very key as well. And I think one of the main triggers, is being in unfulfilled and abusive relationships. Now, a relationship doesn't have to be abusive in the sense that somebody physically hits you. People think that if they don't physically hit you, then it's not abusive, then all is well.
Right.
But being in an unfulfilled and abusive relationship and entertaining those persons around you, may not even be in a relationship, but just the fact of having them as part of your circle, right? It causes you to question your word, question what you believe in. And all of these things bring resentment and grief and distress and dis-ease in the body. And we don't realize as women that, we put everybody first, and then we are last, right? All our needs, everything are last. And we pour and we pour and we pour and we pour, and we have no more to give, but we just keep pouring. And then we're surprised that we get sick. But why are you surprised? I'm thinking to myself, well, no wonder you got sick, because at the end of the day, you were just pouring and giving and giving and pouring, and you were operating under so much high stress for such a long period of time. Surrounded by negativity, by that lack. There was just a lack all the time, So I try to position myself in a much better place now, surrounded by positivity, very little tolerance for foolishness, there's been a lot of pruning. A lot of pruning had to take place for me to be, where I am now. It's not an easy place, but you have to stand up, for yourself. Because if you don't do it, nobody's going to do it. It's going to do it for you. And you have to let go. For me, the key thing was letting go of a lot of resentment, a lot of unforgiveness. A lot of things keep piling up in our body, and it creates that physiological reaction and that psychological reaction. And we think that, well, nothing's wrong with that. And then year after year after year, and the anger and resentment and the discomfort and everything is being stored on a cellular level within our body, and it
Exactly.
piles, and our cells start
Correct.
to malfunction. And once on a cellular level, we start to malfunction, everything else goes out of place. And then the weight comes on, and you can't drop the weight no matter what you do, right? Because the body's in such a high cortisol level, it's on a survival mode all the time, all the time. And there's no way you can come down from that until you totally crash,
Yes.
right? So
Mm-hmm.
that is a road that I wouldn't wish for my worst enemy, I'm telling you. So
Mm.
now I try to share tips, for
Mhm.
persons so that they too could prevent. And you recognize the signs now when people, and you're trying to say, okay, hold it, do this, do that. And people, no, I'm okay. I'm all right. I'm fine. And when I look back, I was like,
Mm-hmm.
well, I was the same way as well, thinking all is well, I'm okay, until everything crashes.
Gosh.
And you don't even realize that you're ill until everything crashes. And even in postpartum depression, as we mentioned, when I look back, it's like I was going through certain things after I had my daughter, right? And then the circumstances weren't favorable as well. But you didn't even realize that you were falling into a depressive state. You were falling into an anxiety state. You didn't even realize it. Lack of nutrients in the body, after a child has been drawing from you for so many months, you're not in the best mental state, you don't have the right people around you. We don't even realize how ill we are sometimes until we lie down flat, until we can't even think for ourselves,
Yeah.
So,
It's
Someone
crazy.
mentioned menopause. That's a whole nother.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's a whole nother
That's
that's
ball
a
another
game
whole
by
lot of
itself.
conversation. You can do a whole
People
show on
are
that.
suffering,
That's paper
yes,
towels,
but
Oh
people
my
are suffering in
Show.
goodness.
silence.
showers.
Yes,
Right? Arlene,
people are suffering
girl,
in
yeah.
silence.
Yes. Yes.
The thing is that
Yeah.
I
I
love
mean,
the fact.
we don't
Simone.
realize everybody's going through the same thing.
Jeez.
And we hiding and we thinking and we can't talk about it. But what you're going through is nothing different from what
Yeah.
I'm going through. We all as women going through the same thing. And we thinking we're ashamed to talk about it. And we can't say, well, this is happening to us. But I'm so
Simone,
glad that we have this group.
Simone, we are
Yes,
ashamed
Ellie.
to talk about vaginal dryness.
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
yes,
Yeah.
Hey,
Hot
And
you
low
sweat.
say these are key and important.
and low libido. Yeah, when you
Mm-hmm.
yes,
don't have the
Blur.
sex drive or you have
Mm-hmm.
yes.
too much sex drive and you
Too.
want and you want it and and it's girls are not to
Mm,
talk about those
Right.
things,
Right.
yes.
so
And
those are
everybody's hush
close-throated
hush.
conversations and
Mhm.
Yes,
that vulnerability is
Right.
not
yes,
discussed and spoken of at all.
yes.
This is
We
key and
need
important.
a
Key
whole
and
forum to talk
important,
about that.
Arlene.
For that, because it's
Look,
definitely, you see, we all busted out laughing
look.
one once I read that question on there, after bringing up, postpartum, yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Simone, I know you mentioned you were detoxing. You used something that you said was a zinc, a remedy, or herbs.
The holy basil, yeah, that's a neutralite, the holy basil and zinc. It's not exactly a detox, but I had to go through a lot of months of detoxing, by eliminating various foods and, taking
Liver
certain herbal
support,
supplements.
yeah. Milk thistle,
Yeah,
dandelion, turmeric, vitamin C,
yes,
silymarin. Those
vitamin
are
C, yeah,
ingredients in one of the supplements where it's certified, quantified, it's measured and tested. So you don't have to try to figure out how much holy basil to use. You can't overdose. You
Mhm.
understand? Because a scientist took so much time to put and measure and put all those things in place, Yeah. So now
Yeah.
you are able to use the product and see the results. And of course, you definitely cut a lot of meats, those amino acids, those uric acid, your amount of red meat and all these different things. And it's just about switching things, making small changes that adds more value to you every single day. And that's what it is.
yes,
So you'll
We
definitely have to
won't
share
say,
that link with
yeah.
us so I can share it on the page or whoever if it's you, Simone, or Arlene, whoever the
Mhm.
contact
yeah,
is, so we can, because herbs is, we need more of it. We
Mhm.
yes,
need more of it. There's some things that by nature, sunlight, sleep, rest,
Yes.
herbs, electrolytes. There's some things that we
Yes.
definitely need.
Yes.
Meditation again, being still. Thanks,
Yes.
Marjorie. Marjorie says she has to leave.
Marjorie, it's a
Blessings,
Thank you,
pleasure.
blessings.
Marjorie.
Yeah, I'm
Lovely to
sorry
see
I
you.
wasn't able to add more to the conversation,
It was
but
It's
Good.
good.
nice.
we will definitely have to do this again. I chair on a committee here on homelessness, and we're getting ready to go into a session with
Nice.
that vulnerable community. So I gotta
Okay,
go.
Yes.
great.
Blessings, blessings, Queen.
Blessings,
Thank you,
blessing. We
Marjorie.
doing this again, right? We doing this
Yeah.
again, right?
Yes.
Don't
Yes,
be
we are.
playing. Don't be playing.
Yes.
All right, ladies.
Yes.
Blessed love.
Lady. Okay, good night.
Au revoir.
Yeah. Yes.
We definitely
Donna,
have
that
to.
supplement
Mhm.
that supplement I'm talking about, it really helps to calm the mind for mental state. I can tell you it really helps to calm because you have to
Mhm.
find coping mechanisms. And one of the things as well is the beach, that grounding, that sea water,
Mm-hmm.
just walking and relaxing, even if you don't go into the water. I've had to find a lot of coping mechanisms. And sometimes people don't know about these things. Sound wave music,
Free.
432, 528,
Yes.
sound wave music. I've had
Yeah.
to find mechanisms to cope,
Mhm.
and heal.
Going back again, it's a lot of things that goes back to nature
Mm-hmm.
and
Yes.
nurture. All these things, the music,
Hmm.
the being outside, the sun,
Yeah.
the air, the fresh air, the water, the waves. If you see pictures of me, you see I'm always at the beach doing,
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Nature.
yeah, or out,
Hmm.
so we have to
Yes.
do that. So we'll definitely have to drop your link so we can share it on Facebook, of those kind of supplements, natural,
Mm-hmm.
especially you said plant-based. So yeah, let's definitely drop that in the you can share that to me and I'll drop it on the video and share it on our pages too. So the gut brain, excellent point. If you've noticed that if we're somewhere and something happens, where do you feel it in you feel it in your gut?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So
Mm-hmm.
that's the second brain.
Mm-hmm.
And so we do have to protect it. We do have to protect what we eat. We've got to do more detox, and we have cleaning out parasites and all the things that
Parasites.
our grandparents and
Yes.
stuff used to do. We have to
Yes.
get back to those things because there's so
Yeah.
many levels. But I know one thing, especially as Caribbean people, that we don't do a lot, we carry around the unforgiveness and the resentment. 20,
Yes.
30 years, we still have somebody up from,
Yes,
right?
We're really good at
exactly.
that.
Yeah, we're
That's not a
really,
good, and that's not a good thing. You
It's
know,
right.
not a good thing. That's
yeah,
correct. Yes.
Donna, even negative self-talk,
Yes.
that critical inner voice,
Hmm.
that undermines our self-esteem,
Yes.
yeah,
Yeah.
contribute to
Yeah.
anxiety, depression,
Hmm.
that you're always speaking negatively to yourself.
To
I've read an
yourself.
Yourself.
awesome book, What
Yeah.
Do You Say to Yourself When You're by Yourself? You know,
Hmm.
and that's a powerful book because it
Hmm.
helps you to understand how to speak life into you, you
Hmm.
know, because a lot of times, based on maybe childhood upbringing, in the Caribbean, you tell a child, you're so dotish, you know, go and sit down in the corner there.
Hmm.
And you don't recognize that you are speaking negatively into this child and they are growing with that.
Right.
I'm not good enough.
Hmm.
I
Hmm.
can't do better because this one said that I'm not good enough, you
Right.
know, right?
Yes.
Yes, but again, it's understanding who you are and whose you are, and
Mhm.
that you
Yes.
are enough. Yeah,
Yes.
and you
And I
don't
know a
have
lot of our young people, especially in the Caribbean and here too in the US, a lot of young people are stressed already.
highly stressed,
Yes.
highly
Yeah.
stressed,
Teenagers.
Hmm.
2021. And I'm thinking, you haven't started even living life as yet, and you're
Yeah.
stressed. So
Yeah.
imagine when life really takes you, what will happen? You
Hmm.
don't have responsibilities of a house, of a husband, of kids, and you're already stressed. And
Yeah.
I mean, where is society going? If you're stressed at this age already, what do you leave for later on? How do you cope with life when life really hits you
Right.
with the responsibilities of adulthood? So I think it's a pandemic. I would say this mental health, it really is a pandemic,
Agree.
and we need to find a way because if children and teenagers are stressed and they haven't started living life. What is the world going to be like? We're going to be having people that can't cope. And then we're going to be having the results that we're having with these murder suicides and stuff like that. And it's something very prevalent in Trinidad, I'm telling you, as Arlene had mentioned.
Mhm.
It's very real, and people only know when it reaches your doorstep how real this
It is.
situation is. I'm
Yes.
telling you.
Yes.
Yeah, because look, I saw that same thing, Arlene, but I didn't know the person, right?
Yes.
Not knowing that that person was close to you. So it's like,
Yes.
okay, well, it's somebody else, you know. I'm not realizing it's somebody's family, somebody's friend, somebody's relative.
Right.
Yeah. You know, Donna, sometimes trauma, post-traumatic experiences,
Mhm.
can have that long-lasting effect on mental health and wellness.
Yes.
And there are children who would witness something as tragic as that. And here in Trinidad and Tobago, how often do we have like a counselor? Yeah. In the islands, I am not aware, I stand to be corrected, but how many institutions are there that is actively involved in following
Mm,
up and that follow up and follow through of ensuring
mm,
that these children are basically detoxified of those experiences where they have a place to talk it out,
Mhm.
to
yes.
be able to have someone like even you, Donna,
Mhm.
be able to put perspective on that incident or that situation to help them to be able to cope. Because
Mhm.
again, what gets done gets duplicated. So what
Mhm.
a child sees and what they are exposed to is what they duplicate in
Yeah.
their teenage life and in their adult life, you
Mhm.
know, right? And that is not a place that we really want our children to be, because again, when they couple up with a dysfunctional person or child,
Mm,
then you know what's happening? Those again recipes, because again, when you can't handle the
yes.
rejection, that's where everything
Yes.
goes south, you
Mhm.
know? And I
Yeah.
always growing up, I always remember my mom said, if you like a boy, Arlene, bring him home. And when my mother finished asking questions, so where you from? So who's your parents? Yeah, what your mother and father does do? Your mother and father married? Well, my mother, when she finished interrogate, she could tell me if that's a good boy or that is not a good boy. You understand?
Yes.
But we don't
Yes.
do them
Parents have a
things
way.
anymore.
Yeah. Parents have a way of doing that, and we don't realize, how they do it. But have an instinct, and as parents now, you realizing that you'd want the same for your child, and you'd be able to detect certain things that your child cannot detect as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, as we wrap up, that is why I've been doing the Speak Life About You Slay, as we
Yeah.
call you all, because it is important that we have to speak life about ourselves because not all of us, a lot of us did not have or parents that were capable of speaking life over because the culture growing up in the Caribbean, majority of the time the culture is very harsh. We know they love us, but you get some breeder talking to and this you don't get the warm and fuzzy like these kids now will I love you and you're so you get some your big head
Mm-hmm,
kind of,
mm-hmm,
and so and then we go into relationships and then that person may not know how to speak life to us. So that's our responsibility. And if we can learn that, the earlier we can learn to speak life about ourselves and just catch the thoughts, catch it. Okay, we're not going to talk about ourselves anymore, because from our mouths, the mouth, the tongue comes life and death, and
mm-hmm,
that's for real. So it's all about teaching each other.
mm-hmm.
You may know something in one way. I've learned something in one way. So now I go into the jails here in Orlando and teach that to the women and wherever I go. So hopefully I'll be in Trinidad one day and we can do a
Yes.
sleigh
Lovely.
and do a physical things with the youth, Simone, And
Yes.
because that's what we're here for. We're here just to give back and serve humanity in some amazing way that feeds and soothes our soul. And that's what brings us back into balance, right? So I thank you, ladies, for an amazing, amazing conversation on this. I see
Yeah.
that we just had someone join us. Bernard joined us. Welcome, welcome. Thank you, Antonio, for hanging in there with us. So we'll just do last words, Simone, and then Arlene, and then we're gonna break. Any last
Yes, well,
words?
yeah, I just want to say, I mean, mental health has, such a stigma in the Caribbean, and it's something that we need to overcome because at the end of the day, we all have a mind, we're all human beings, and we're all going through the same experience. There's nothing to be ashamed about. Needing help, there's nothing wrong with that. And if you need help, then get help. Ask for help, reach out for help, and don't suffer in silence. There's nothing to be ashamed about doing suffer in silence. And I mean that's my word because sometimes we suffer, we don't want to tell anybody, and we could have gotten help and made our journey so much easier. So I would just like to encourage women, especially, to put themselves first, for a change, and to, seek after their health and
Yes.
get help. They need it.
Hmm.
Thank you, thank you.
I think Simone just saw my little note because I
Oh,
said, in conclusion, if you
yeah.
notice that there are signs that someone you care about, it's important to approach them with empathy and support,
Mhm.
encourage open
Yeah.
conversations about their feelings and suggest as well, seeking
Mhm.
professional help. Again, we're singing the same song. Remember, mental health struggles are common and reaching out for help is crucial, right? In order to overcome, to become, and know women that you are enough. And I tell my children, Mother's Day is not just only one day. Every day is Mother's Day.
Yes.
Every day is your birthday. Every day is a special day. As long as you get up and you breathe God's breath, fresh air,
Mhm.
it's a
Amen.
day
Great.
to say thank you, Lord, for this
Yeah.
day. If you're an
Mhm.
atheist and you don't even believe in Him, I can kid you not, bounce your toe and you will say, oh God. So, yeah, because the pain triggers that response,
Mhm.
you know, and it's only to know that when we have good health, then we don't know what not good health means, right? But walk in the shoe of someone that has a terminal condition and you value and appreciate your good health.
Yes.
Yes? So
True.
maintain it, manage it, and more so, look yourself in the mirror and say, I love you.
Mhm.
I love you. I love you, and say it with passion. Scream it, I love you. And there's nothing wrong with doing that. Because
Yes.
when you love you, then you will attract the right people who will also love
Amen.
and value you. Yes?
Yeah.
And therefore, it limits things to happen that is negative because all you can attract is positive. Yes?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I see. Please invite me to another program from Bernard. Thank you, sir. Um,
Thank you for having me on the program. I do so value and appreciate,
yes,
being here and being able to share my experience from my heart and know that that love exuberates right back to the
yes,
universe and right back to every person that is hearing the sound of our voices here this evening.
yes. Thank
Yes,
you.
back to you, Donna.
Bernard, if you will connect with whoever invited you, and then you can have them connect um with me so we can keep you posted with our weekly shows. All right, so as we wrap up, we just want to let everyone know that we are all in this together. In
Yes.
this story or the game called life, I always call it. And we each have a gift, we each have a purpose, and we just need to go out and whatever that small purpose is, because sometimes we think, oh, I just have this small little thing. That's all you need to be a blessing to someone else's life. Connect with nature, connect with the vine, get your sunlight, get your rest, get your herbs, get your electrolytes, your potassium, your sodium, all these things. Do your detoxing, fasting, get that gut health in balance too. Do your forgiveness. It's not for the person that hurt you. It's for you. It's to unleash the negative energy that we've stored up. Negative, we sometimes we can have like an emergency and we're in heightened, but we're not supposed to stay and remain in high stress 24/7, 5 years, 7 years, 10 years, because that is how we get sick. So we have to do those things, forgiveness, gratitude, cleansing. We have to cleanse the inner self and the outer self, right? So get with people that are like-minded, that are next level conversation. Now, we don't have time for foolish conversation. We need next level conversation to elevate ourselves and elevate our families, our businesses, everything, our nonprofits or, missions. All right. So God bless everyone. And until next time, be blessed.
Thank you.
Good night.
Good
Good
night.
night.
Big up to the new millennium nights.
Ah,
Tonio, bye, Bernard.
Bye, guys.